Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where tonight it is time for the Matt Painter Radio Show, and I am your host, Rob Blackman. Thank you so much for finding us here tonight on a Tuesday night. Had to move the schedule around a little bit this week because obviously Purdue playing a Monday night home game last night against Iowa. So for those that have found us here on a Tuesday, maybe via Facebook or X or the YouTube Purdue Athletics page, maybe you found us on the Varsity Network app, or maybe the old-fashioned way on the radio. However you went through the trouble to find us on a Tuesday night, we say thank you for that. Coach Painter Show presented tonight, as always, by GEMCO Constructors. Supporting your Boilermakers is the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show and a proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says boiler up. Coach Painter is with us tonight, and we do have a whole lot to talk about with him over the next 55 minutes or so. Including the Big Ten schedule now off and running, with Purdue actually being the first team in the conference to have played 2 Big Ten games already. Purdue losing Friday night in Evanston in overtime, 92-88 against Northwestern in what was the Big Ten opener. And then Purdue comes back with a pretty decisive win last night, 87-68 over the Iowa Hawkeyes in what was the home opener at Mackey Arena. So we'll talk with Coach Painter about those 2 Big Ten games, and we'll look ahead to what comes next on the schedule, which is stepping out of conference to face one of the better teams in the country, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama and Purdue about to play Saturday afternoon, Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto, as Zach Edey gets a chance to go home and play in front of friends and family at 1:30 on Saturday when Purdue plays Alabama. So we got a lot to talk about. Because of that, let's go ahead and get to a commercial break. And when we come back, Coach Painter joins me. This is the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
In 20 wins over the last 5 years. He has gotten it done. Developed players and won at a high level. Lawyer, the offensive rebound with the 3. Boilermakers on the move with a 3-point lead. Smith will turn the corner. The reverse is there. What a see. Edey, there's that trap. Passes out of it easily to Mason Gillis. Morton almost got away with that one. Looks inside for Edey. Poked away by Freeman. He gathers, count it, and the foul. He's too big, he's too strong, and he'll go to the line. He's on the floor. It really doesn't. You have to think that you keep doing that, you're going to stay on the floor. I think Edey will stay on the floor. Oh, Purdue right now, 29-14. Perkins. Rotation around. This is Dix. His shot blocked by Ethan Morton. Wow. These are the types of plays that Ethan Morton is on the floor for. He plays incredibly hard, and defense leading to offense. Purdue starting the break on 2 missed foul shots is pretty high level. On a 2-shot foul, if you miss back-to-back, you get the free chicken, and then on the other end, Lance Jones for Purdue. Defensive play, inbound, off the back of Sanford. What a heads-up play.
Give them a little more athleticism, and of course it helped how much better Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer are too.
Edey's pretty good. Here's Edey inside to the rim with one hand. He's doing everything right now. How many times have we seen Purdue's guards drive aggressively and their bigs just seal the lane? He is certainly acclimated pretty well so far. Oh, Edey cleaning it up inside. Defensive end of the floor. And it just feels so easy for Purdue. We talked about it earlier, who that out front is going to be. We know who it is for Purdue. Iowa's still looking for that score. Gosh, anybody who's lost somebody important to them knows what that young man's going through right now.
Welcome back to the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO. Live tonight at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Remember, fans, everyone needs a little playing time. So before a Purdue basketball game or any time throughout the week, stop by Walk-Ons here in the Purdue Memorial Union. Purdue head coach Matt Painter is alongside tonight as we talk Boilermaker basketball. Again, since the last time we've had a chance to speak, Purdue has notched not 1 but 2 Big Ten games into the games played column. These are the only 2 Big Ten games Purdue will play before we turn the calendar to the new year and Purdue jumps back into Big Ten play in January. So with that, Coach Painter, let's literally jump right into the 2 games played Friday and Sunday. We'll start with last night's win over Iowa, 87-68. Lots to talk about from that game, but I think the one thing you and I talked about in the postgame show yesterday, first right off the bat, was offensive rebounding in the first half. Felt to me like really set the tone for the whole rest of that ball game.
Yeah, I thought we were pretty active. Obviously, just getting Zach involved, and if they really make a big time effort to get in front of him and to fight him from getting the basketball, and we can take good shots, and he's not the one shooting them. He's in a pretty good position to rebound, and so you see that a lot, especially with drives. So like when people are driving the basketball, getting a shot at that time, just because they're taking him away in those shorter shots or softer rebounds or shorter rebounds, obviously. Longer shots go longer, and that really, really helps us. But, the one possession probably sticks out when we end it with, I think Cam hits the three at the end of the possession. Zach gets it, shoot a three, Zach gets it, kicks it out, shoot another three, Mason gets it, reverse it, drive it, pass, and then he gets that shot. That those are the ones that break your back, is when you give up 3 offensive rebounds. We had it happen in the Northwestern game, same thing, and we missed them and missed all those shots. But you love that effort. You love the effort of getting on the glass and establishing yourself. And in the Northwestern game, obviously out rebounding them by 25, even though it only ends up for us out rebounding them by 6. It was obviously much more than that. When the game kind of like that 8-minute mark, got away from us a little bit there.
You've always said this, well, at least the last handful of seasons I've been working with you. Sometimes your best offense is just getting a shot up on the rim because you're such a good offensive rebounding team.
Yeah, Trey Kaufman, Zach, Mason, Caleb, Braden is a good rebounder. He gets a lot of long rebounds. He doesn't jam as much because Lance is here, and he does some of that also. But that's just the key. It's kind of I know you wanted to talk more about Iowa, but in the Northwestern game, it's the turnovers that we have, and kind of how it comes about. If you just get shots on those possessions, even if they're not that good of shots, the percentages say that you're getting a pretty healthy dose of those offensive rebounds and either getting fouled or scoring the basketball.
Well, I do want to talk about Northwestern, and I would like to kind of contrast the two. Against Northwestern, coming out of the locker room on Friday night, you had an 8-point lead, and unfortunately never really added on to that. You kind of let Northwestern hang around. That was not I just realized this earlier today, Coach, thanks to Chris Foreman, our sports information director, who gave me this info. Yesterday's game, you scored on the first 13 possessions of the second half. I don't think you can start a second half much better than that.
Yeah, that normally helps. You score every possession for about 5-6 minutes. But I thought our 2 worst halves of defense was the second half of Northwestern and the second half of Marquette. And both of those are leads, right? 8-point lead, 13-point lead. We did not lead at half against Tennessee. We did not lead at half against Gonzaga. We played very well to start that. And that's something, that gets talked about at every timeout. Like, how you finish a half, which last night Braden does a great job of setting up Mason for that 3. And then how we start the second half it probably couldn't have gotten any better, especially from an offensive standpoint, is a big part of the game. So you get that 8-point lead against Northwestern. You had the lead at 13 at one time in the first half. Now that start, I think Marquette, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, Marquette might have scored 17 points in the first 4.5 minutes of that second half. Now, we scored 2. Braden knocked down a couple threes in there, but it was kind of the same mode where we weren't getting those stops, and you got to be able to get those stops. You got to be able to make it more difficult on them and then try to push that lead out or at least maintain your lead, which we didn't do either one of those.
You mentioned Braden Smith. I'd love for you to talk about his effort he gave you last night. He had only 2 points for the entire game. He only took 4 shots, but I'm not sure that there was maybe a more important player on the floor last night for you than Braden Smith, despite the fact the guy scored only 2 points. And I mentioned the 1 of 4 shooting. The one was actually a reverse layup, which came early in the ball game, and then he ends up just with just the 2 points. But you look at this. Let me grab the stat sheet there from you, Coach, to make sure I get the numbers right. But if you look at Braden's numbers, 8 assists. I was going to say it backwards. I'm glad I checked. 8 assists, 6 rebounds, only attempted 4 shots. Again, I'm not sure you had a more important player on the floor than him.
Yeah, no question. And you get in those games, we've really emphasized to him about shooting the basketball and being more aggressive. And then now what you're seeing here in the last games, sometimes people don't realize that, like, kind of the strategy of other teams. A bunch of teams to start the season played in a drop, which we play in a drop a lot with Zach. We get up and then we drop back, which you'll see us give up more pull-up jump shots than you will anything else in a drop. You just will. Intermediate floaters, which analytically they say if those are contested, it's a lower percentage shot. You don't want to give up threes. You don't want to give up layups. You don't want to send people to the free throw line. Well, now a lot of people have been hedging Braden high. So now what you see more when you hedge him high is he gets to the outside of everything, and then you see that skip pass. You see more of that skip pass when they hedge you high like that. You see more of the throwbacks to the guy coming behind with that, and that's what you see at the end of the first half right there. It's a little bit different. We arrange it differently a lot of times just to try to get them off the scent in terms of what we're doing or how we're going about it. But if they take Zach as the roller and the low man doesn't, if the low man takes the roller, you got that skip pass. If they both stay in there, you got both of them, obviously. But a lot of times they'll get a piece of that guy, which they call a bump or a tag, and they'll bump him up, and then they release and they stay high. Well, if you do that with him, he can steamroll you. You know, like he can physically just overwhelm you. Like the first play of the game, Tony Perkins tries to play it in between, and he pump fakes it. And Tony Perkins just jumps just a little bit to the outside. He throws it right to Zach, and then Zach gets fouled. So, like, you got to hold with him. You got to just sell out to him. Now, that means that opposite guy's probably just going to get a wide-open three. So we start the Northwestern game, and Fletcher gets the 4-point play.
Yes,
that's exactly what happened. Now, that happens the whole game, all right? There's no change to what you're doing because they feel this is what we're going to give up. We're going to give this up. We're going to stop his roll. Now, if you're sitting there making open shots against Iowa like we were, like Lance Jones was, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, man, everything's cooking tonight. Well, there's nothing different in that ball screen action from Friday night than there was Monday night, except the ball went in, and the ball didn't go in. Right. But those aren't the possessions when we miss those threes that hurt us because we're getting a percentage of those rebounds. It's when you don't get those quality shots that you mentioned before. That's what gets us. You know, you out-rebound somebody by 25, and your best player gets 35 and 14. Like, you know, the pizza should taste good.
Right. And shot 40 free throws.
Even though Giordano's is great, it didn't taste very good this time.
Probably
it's
not.
Funny how that works.
More with Coach Painter when we come back. It is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Carson Murray, great up from the Skimmerhorn. It's back at the student section, kept alive. Wow. And it gets over. Aubrey Hamilton mistimes it, and Purdue takes the points. How improbable.
Absolutely incredible, Alex. You see the drive from the Boilermakers, and who else? Eva Hudson.
Out of bounds, a service error, the second of the match so far for Marquette, gives Purdue the first lead of the night. They'll take set number 1 and 17-15 in the fifth. Purdue won both those sets.
Miscommunication there by the Marquette offense.
And Purdue takes advantage of a free ball, what they've done so great all night.
What a beautiful setup.
A block from Marquette, and they take set number 3. We're not done yet, folks. Reitzma. Hudson keeps the set alive. Skimmerhorn back to serve. Block for Purdue. They've got match point coming up.
Raven, Colvin, period. Hudson offensively, Colvin comes in defensively, and the Boilermakers are tasting the sugar.
The 8th block for Purdue, 8th team block.
How sweet it is!
And the Boilers have done it! They advance to the Sweet 16 for the 5th time in 6 years. Skimmerhorn finishes with 2 aces. She had 1 in the first set. She closes it for her team. And what a win for this Purdue program. They're still not playing their best volleyball, folks.
To thank and recognize members of the Black and Gold Club who sponsor Purdue Athletics through their sponsorship at the highest level. Black and Gold Club members include Indiana Packers, Molson Coors, Purdue Federal Credit Union, Wabash, Purdue Global, and Rohrman Automotive Group, each great partners of Purdue Athletics. Rob Blackman here with Purdue head coach Matt Painter talking about Boilermaker basketball here. Boilermakers coming off a win last night, 87-68 over the Iowa Hawkeyes, improving Purdue's record now to 8-1 overall, 1-1 in Big Ten play. The latest top 25 rankings came out yesterday. For those that may not have seen, Purdue ranked number 4 in this week's top 25 Associated Press poll. Coach, we were talking there about drop coverage and how teams defend you, and it got me to thinking about this during the commercial break. Have you noticed a fundamental difference this year as compared to last year from the way teams are defending you this year? Because basically, in a lot of ways, you're the same ball club, same personnel.
Right. Not really. I mean, everybody's going to have their ways in terms of how they do things. The people that have switched, which hasn't happened a lot with our 5, we did a good job against Marquette, and then they adjusted and they changed. Braden has done a good job of really probing the defense when they have switched, knowing that more than likely when he drives, it's going to be for somebody else at that time, even though he has made a couple really nice drives and they switch. We haven't had a lot of people switch 5 ways. They've switched more 4 ways, and then we still tried to just kind of let him manipulate the defense at that time. We've seen, like I talked about, we've seen the high hedge, we've seen the drops. We haven't seen many blitzes, which a blitz is more or less a ball screen that just kind of comes quick and then they just trap it. Or a really, really high hedge with that. So we've seen a little bit of that, not much. And, people are going to down a ball screen or ice a ball screen, so they're not going to let it go a certain way. You see that more on the wing than you see anywhere else. You'll see it probably the second most frequency is in the slot. You don't see it as much right on top, even though some people will do it. Some people will do that, and you think it's that, but they're really just sending the ball screen weak to the offensive players weak hand. They just call it weak. And so, you just got to keep working like through the summer and through the fall, and you're just always working on all those coverages and going against those coverages and making those reads. And ball screen offense is no different than ball screen defense in the fact that it involves 5 people. A lot of times they just think it's the guy with the ball and the guy setting the screen, but it's not. Other guys have to find windows to be open. Sometimes guys got to stay away in the corner to give more space. Sometimes you got to come behind. A lot of our action and what we do are calls. So we can play in motion. We play out of a transition ball screen a lot. And it just kind of makes sense because they don't like to get detached from him. And when they do get detached, that means he can move freely. And that helps us because he's such a big target as he dives and he pulls a lot of people with him. So even when he doesn't go, you get that sacrificial cut to where you're getting to the rim and you're going and you're pulling people with you, and now everybody comes that way. Now when you skip it, you got people in closeouts. You got your jump shot, you got another post up, or you got that drive against a defender who's pretty vulnerable as he has to sprint and close out and stop you from shooting the basketball.
When you're talking about transition ball screens, you're talking about specifically Zach, right? Stopping at the top of the key?
Yeah, we mix it up a little bit. It depends. With our other bigs, it's not something we call in transition. We call things in a set a lot of times with what we're doing and how we're setting them. If we just go and anchor him and we get it to him quick, he's very effective. But sometimes when you anchor too much, as we've seen through the years, they really load up on him. And they really get a lot of help in there, which is going to happen when you play a better team. A lot of people don't realize, they go, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? Is because, Tom Izzo didn't allow that. Like there is another person out there coaching their team and it's trying to stop you. That's what people always like when they say ridiculous things. Like, you lose the same way. You're like, no, that's the end result. Like sometimes, I just read a book by Annie Dukes. She was a poker player. And she talks about that, like how poker players fall into it. And I really equated it to coaching because in poker, percentages. In blackjack, percentages. And when you go on something and it gets to 78-22, I'm a big fan of the 78.
Yes.
If you want to get with 22 and marry 22, you go marry 22. I'm going to marry 78 because I like that percentage. Well, sometimes at 78 you lose. And people look at that, you made the wrong decision. Like, no, sometimes you can make great decisions with a bad result. And sometimes you can make bad decisions with a good result. That's the percentages because nothing is 100. And that's what you have to understand. What they don't understand is how the sausage is made. Because there's so many different things that go with offense, right? You got your post-up ability. You got your ball screens that we just talked about for a while. You got your screening away from the basketball. You got what you do when you come in transition offensively. You got what you do when you run sets. So when the ball goes inside, we have rules. When the ball gets dribbled, we have rules. When they're screening, are they switching? Are they going under the screen? Are they staying tight with the screen? Whatever they're doing, we scout that and we talk about it, and there's rules to that. So I just gave you 8 layers of offense. So when someone just comes to the end and they say, well, this is just, you guys kind of lose the same way. Like, no, that's not the case. Now, do we have too many turnovers and we shot a low percentage from 3? Sure, but that's not how the sausage is made. Like I just kind of talked to you in general terms about that, and I could give a dissertation on it for a week, because you've spent 30 years working on it. And so, like, when you get right down to it and you understand that piece of it, you keep doing things that are higher percentage, even though you might have some failure there. You keep doing those things because now, like, where are we offensively right now? We're the 3rd best offense, the 2nd best offense. I forget where we're at. And we finished right around there the last couple years. It's what you want to keep doing, but you got to play good in bigger games. Like, obviously, you win the league, you win the tournament, you get knocked out in the first round. It's just a sour taste right there. But you can't let your players, you can't let the people in your program, you got to let them know, hey, man, we are going in the right direction. We're doing a lot of really, really good things. But we can't let this rear its ugly head. But I don't think there's a team in the country that's not going to be affected by turnovers this year. There's going to be 362 of them. They're going to have problems with turnovers, every single one, some more than others. But you got to keep things in perspective and understand how to run offense and how to be efficient.
More with Coach Painter when we come back to Walk-Ons. Coach Painter Show brought to you by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Dudia, this has been an Achilles heel for the Purdue Boilermakers, but that's a big-time shot. That pick and roll, Northwestern wants to flood the weak side.
Entry to Edey against Nicholson with the hook. This is Braden Smith inside. Edey cleaning the glass and throwing it down.
It's a shot that Lance Jones looks for. He looks for that transition 3. What a ball fake by Fletcher Lawyer to free himself.
He's out-rebounded Northwestern by himself tonight. 3 to shoot. Gonna have to hurry again. Barry lost it. And a bounce ahead. Smith looked back and finished.
There was some serious English right there by Ethan Morton on that basketball.
There's Bowie trying to work against. Double comes the trap on Edey. Extra pass around to Heidi for 3. Excellent ball movement by Purdue.
That's what Northwestern's given up. For the Cats, they've got to find somebody outside of Ty Berry and Boo Bowie to get on the board here.
Edey, just an angry swat of that one. It goes out of bounds off the leg of one of the Cats, and it'll belong to Purdue.
Chris Collins wants winners, and that's what Langborg did at Princeton.
No doubt. When you lead Princeton to the Sweet 16, as Edey rattles the... Smith to Edey with the finish. Lawyer feeds the post. Edey inside with the flush.
It's big boy basketball. Matt Painter looking for a break here. Boy, they've missed so many shots at the rim. You got Edey getting a little rest before the media.
But another chance, and what a finish! Are we about to see a second straight Northwestern upset? In, Edey, catch, finish! Tied at 76. Inbound Bowie, the heave, no! And overtime!
This is just Zach Edey time, all of overtime. You are looking for him every time down the floor.
Preston's the only post left, and there it is.
This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO, live tonight at Walk-Ons. The 2023-24 Purdue basketball season presented by Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults. Earn a degree you're proud of and employers respect. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. Coach Painter, I do want to talk about what we are seeing from Zach Edey here through the first 8 games of the season. Another monster night for him last night, 25 points, 12 or 13 rebounds, if I remember correctly. He was 9 of 10 shooting. He only took 10 shots to get to 25 points, and he did so in 24 minutes. This is coming off the 35-point 14 rebound game against Northwestern Friday. Maybe a silly question here, but can he play much better than he's playing right now? He's dominating.
Yeah. Well, I think in the Northwestern game, he had a lot of those where he got fouled, those and ones. Trey had a couple. He had about 4, and, those are the ones that he wants back because now, Trey split all 3 of his, and not every one of Trey's were and ones. And so you leave those possessions, instead of leaving it with 3 points, you leave with 1 point. You have 5 or 6 of those, that adds up. You're losing, 8 to 10 points here just in terms of how everything unfolds because you get the ball at the rim, you get them in foul trouble, you got to the free throw line 41 times. You want to make them pay, and you want to be able to do that. And so, his competition and his gauge is himself. Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair way. You got to want, more from him. You got to really talk to him about how they're coming and how they're doing things. And from a defensive standpoint, staying in the game, but staying big and making things difficult. And, he's very coachable. So he takes, a lot of things in. And the thing that he does better than anything is his effort. He gives a good effort. Sometimes it can get frustrating when you don't get calls. I thought at Northwestern, and I know a lot of people have differing opinions, but just in comparison to where it was last year, I thought the officials were great. Mm-hmm. And you could go and pick and say they missed this call, missed that call, whatever. Okay, you can do that in any game. But I really thought they established it. I thought they really established it in Marquette. You go back to the Marquette game, I think we took 18 free throws or 18 fouls, and we had 11, but they fouled twice on purpose, so it was just a 5-foul difference right there. I thought those guys were good. You got to get things early. And so, if you allow them to foul him and hold him and do all that stuff, now you're going to get into a real mess. Iowa did a really good job the year before. I thought Rebraca did a really good job of being physical and then not fouling him. When we went back and watched the tape, I forgot about that. And Rebraca did a really good job. He gave a great effort. He battled him and then just got him out enough to where he had to have a post move. The guys that guarded him this year, both of them, that's their first time. Yeah. And they battled him, but then he was getting dunks. He's at the rim. He's getting layups. His only miss, he got the rebound and laid it back in.
Yeah.
So really, 9 possessions, 9 baskets. So right. That's really good. But no, he's continued to work, and that's what a lot of people, they always want to give something a theory or set the narrative, how much better can he be? He's National Player of the Year. It's he's played 7 years of organized basketball. Why can't he get better? Yeah. There's guys that are in their late 20s getting better in the NBA. Competition's going to make it better. Your knowledge is going to make it better. So but no, he's he had a great game against Iowa. He did some really good things against Northwestern. He just didn't get enough of those finishes. But we got to keep feeding him. We got to keep getting him the basketball or allow people to overdo things so it opens up gaps for everybody else.
By the way, I looked it up, that Marquette game. Marquette committed 18 fouls, which you were correct, 18 fouls as a team. 9 of them were against Zach, so half of their fouls were fouling Zach.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. You start a game and you watch somebody, you get a pretty good feel. I've went against Iowa or Michigan State a lot, but we faced Marquette last year. That's the only thing we have to know to go off of because he was at Texas before we played him. But we had a different team. We had a guard-oriented team when we played them at Texas. And so when you get right down to it, the last thing I thought they would do is switch 5 ways on ball screens. They were switching their point guard onto Zach Edey and putting their 5 on the point. And then quickly we were able to get them in foul trouble. We were able to get the ball inside. We had a lot of success with that. And so, but that's the one thing a lot of people don't realize, that sometimes with him, because he's such a tough cover, people will do some different things, and you might not be prepared totally for that, but you just got to be able to adjust. It's not going to be anything that we haven't seen, but it might not be something we've practiced against a lot.
More with Coach Painter when we come back. Matt Painter Show tonight, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Time of year again. That time when it's no longer about what we've done, but what we can do, what we will do. All those bruises and floor burns and pit drills have led to this, because this is when seasons are defined by survival, when victories are born on the backs of nothing more than desire and the courage to take it. Do you hear me? This next part isn't about any single person. It's about team. It's about grit. It's about being fearless. It's about heart. The concept of underdogs, forget it. Because in this pool, with these teams, it's all metal and talent. Every single one of them. The thing is, playing teams like this is nothing new for us. We've watched empires crumble and dynasties tumble beneath our feet. And when we got knocked down, we got back up and said, let's go again.
Nebraska was able to close this one out.
We've been through the fire and have come out strong.
And then Hudson!
No giant is bigger than the shadow we will cast. Respect is earned, and that we like. That we thrive on.
Chicoine unleashes. Chloe Chicoine.
Haven't you heard? Age is just a number, and we may be young, but we've seen more battles than most. Make no mistake, we will rise to every challenge.
No surprise, Myers in the play again.
The seasons may be changing, but not us, not our fight, nor our sight of what lies just beyond. Our focus remains the same, because our vision is as clear and steady as it was from day one. It's that time of year again.
Welcome back, everyone, to Walk-On's Matt Painter Show tonight, brought to you by GEMCO Constructors. GEMCO Constructors, supporting your Boilermakers, is the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show and a proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says boiler up. Time for our Pro Boilers feature, where we look at how a former Purdue student-athlete is doing in their professional sports career. Pro Boilers, presented by Indiana Kitchen, premium pork products. Get to know us at indianakitchen.com. I want to give a shout-out tonight to Travion Williams. Travion playing professional in Germany in the city of Ulm, U-L-M, in Germany. I had this brought to my attention yesterday by Sasha Stefanovic, so I had to roll with it because this is great stuff. In the Euro Cup League in Europe, professional basketball, they have what's called a performance index rating. It is very similar to what the NBA has in their player efficiency rating, if you've ever paid attention to that. So in the NBA right now, the number one efficient player in the NBA, as we speak today, is Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, world champion Denver Nuggets. I think those that follow professional basketball know how good he is. Well, do you know who the number one performance index rated player in the Euro Cup League is right now? Travion Williams. He's the best player in the Euro Cup, according to that metric. So, I mean, good for Travion. He's averaging 13 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4 assists a game. His team is currently fourth in the standings, in the Group B standings in the Euro Cup. And as Sasha explained to me yesterday when we were talking about all of this, what this ultimately means for Travion is when his contract is up at the end of this season, he's about to get paid. He's about to get paid really well to play over there overseas. So congratulations, Travion Williams. He is just killing it over there in Germany and playing in the Euro Cup. I think.
And isn't Dakota playing with him?
Yeah, Dakota Mathias on the same team.
Yeah.
Same team. Ulm is the name of the team, ULM in Germany. Travion, hey, when we had that guy, Coach Brantley joined me on the show last week. I said, hey, of all the big men, best passer you've ever coached. He didn't hesitate. Travion Williams. That guy could pass,
yeah.
couldn't he?
You know, for us, like, when we run a lot of stuff and, like, people that switch and do different things, you could just run an assortment of things with him. Like, you'd see the passes and the cuts and stuff like we do. And now, like, they're solid as passers, but they're not like him. Yeah. So I always sit there and be like, we can do this, we can do that. I got a list of different stuff. Then I get in the game, I get scared. I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. But Travion, the thing with him that sometimes he would get and you would say, like, hey, it's got to be there. Like, we're going to slip, we're going to do this. It's got to be there, man. Like, you can't, just don't throw it if it's not there. He was throwing that thing. He was throwing it. Right. So you had to feel good about it because after a while, especially, like, you know, he was flinging it, and he'd be like, man, that's an unbelievable pass. And the next one would, you know,
yes,
ricochet off 4 people.
Well, they can't all be perfect.
Yes.
More with Coach Painter in a second. This is Matt Painter Show, brought to you by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
In 20 wins over the last 5 years. He has gotten it done, developed players, and won at a high level.
Lawyer, the offensive rebound with the 3. Boilermakers on the move with a 3-point lead. Smith will turn the corner. The reverse is there. What a see. Edey, there's that trap. Passes out of it easily to Mason Gillis. Morton almost got away with that one. Looks inside for Edey, poked away by Freeman. He gathers, count it, and the foul. He's too big, he's too strong, and he'll go to the line. He's on the floor.
It really doesn't. You have to think that you keep doing that, you're going to stay on the floor.
I think Edey will stay on the floor. Oh, Purdue right now, 29-14. Perkins. Rotation around. This is Dix. His shot blocked by Ethan Morton. Wow.
These are the types of plays that Ethan Morton is on the floor for. He plays incredibly hard, and defense leading to offense. Purdue starting to break on 2 missed foul shots is pretty high level.
On a 2-shot foul, if you miss back-to-back, you get the free chicken, and then on the other end, Lance Jones for Purdue. Defensive play, inbound, off the back of Sanford.
What a heads-up play.
Give them a little more athleticism. And, of course, it helped out much better Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer are, too.
Edey's pretty good. Here's Edey inside to the rim with one hand. He's doing everything right now.
How many times have we seen Purdue's guards drive aggressively and their bigs just seal the lane? He is certainly acclimated pretty well so far.
Oh, Edey cleaning it up inside.
Defensive end of the floor. And it just feels so easy for Purdue.
We talked about it earlier, who that alpha is going to be. We know who it is for Purdue. Iowa's still looking for that score. Gosh, anybody who's lost somebody important to them knows what that.
Welcome back to the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO. Live tonight at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. My name is Rob Blackman. The show that follows us here at Walk-Ons is the Katie Gerald Show, talking Purdue women's hoops. I bring that up because their host and their play-by-play voice of women's basketball is Tim Newton, and today is Tim's birthday. So if you are in the building tonight when Tim shows up, make sure to give him a happy birthday. And I do see a couple of folks here actually brought him a birthday cake.
Oh, there we go, Tim.
Yeah, so that's the problem with me. I have a September birthday, so I'm never here for basketball season. I don't get a cake.
I don't know if they get you one, Rob.
They probably wouldn't get me one anyway. You're right. Let's talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Next on the schedule, Coach. I guess, first of all, I should talk about scheduling this game in Toronto, Saturday, 1:30 at the Coca-Cola Coliseum. Obviously, it seems to make sense when you look at it from afar because Zach Edey is a Toronto native, born and raised. But how did this game come about? The chance to, A, play a high-quality opponent and get Zach back to Toronto.
Yeah, obviously it's a doubleheader. Another game will be in play. I think it's Clemson, TCU.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. But, yeah, just trying to get Zach back to Toronto and, you know, the event organizers just, you know, setting things up and wheeling and dealing and getting TV people involved. And so this is going to be great, you know, for him to be able to go back there with friends and family and be able to compete.
Well, we talked to you and I talked on a pregame show last night about trying to slow down Iowa, 91 points a game. It doesn't get any easier with Alabama. They're averaging 94 points a game.
Right.
Aaron Estrada, 1,600 points in his career.
Right.
Mark Sears, 1,500 points in his career. They have no problems putting the ball in the basket.
No question. They just added Grant Nelson too. So all three of those guys transfer. Sears has been there for 2 years now. Estrada and Nelson, this is their first year. Estrada was their leading scorer at Hofstra last year, and then they came in here and played us, and then he was out, and they still gave us a great game.
That's right.
And very talented. Both those guards are very talented. You know, Nelson's got a chance to be an NBA player. So they're not short on talent. Mm-hmm. They're very athletic. They're very long. They're going to press you. They're going to get after you. They want that tempo to go. They're going to outscore you, but they're smart in what they do. They're analytically sound. You know, they shoot a lot of threes. They get to the free throw line. They want layups. You know, kind of staying out of that intermediate game, even though low clock, they do some. But no, they're very, very talented, and they have guards that can grind it, man. They can grind it. They just work you downhill, and they attack the rim.
They are 6-2 on the season. They're not ranked in the top 25. They just fell out of the top 25, but they're just on the cusp. If you worked out the numbers, they're actually technically 30th in the country according to the AP poll. What about you step out of Big Ten play here, Coach, which we all know is difficult enough as it is, and now you get Alabama, Arizona in back-to-back games. Arizona currently #1 in the country. You're not making your life any easier out of conference. You're actually stepping up a notch in competition in some ways.
Yeah, we're not. We're trying to do what's best for us. We're trying to play a tough schedule, a challenging schedule. Playing neutral site games, and you want to play neutral site games, and then that's what we're doing here in Indy and Toronto. And obviously, this is huge, for Zach to go back, but it's also huge for us to play in Indianapolis with, a strong fan base. With everything, but you want these tough experiences so you can make improvements. Obviously, you want to win games and keep going, but you want to be, at your best when it comes to the end of the year.
Honolulu, Toronto, Indianapolis. Not a bad little stretch run here for our Boilermakers. More with Coach Painter when we come back on the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Carson Murray, great up from the Skimmerhorn. It's back at the student section, kept alive. Wow. And it gets over. Aubrey Hamilton mistimes it, and Purdue takes the points. How improbable.
Absolutely incredible, Alex. You see the drive from the Boilermakers, and who else? Eva Hudson.
Out of bounds, a service error, the second of the match so far for Marquette, gives Purdue the first lead of the night. They'll take set number 1 and 17-15 in the 5th. Purdue won both those sets.
Miscommunication there by the Marquette offense.
And Purdue takes advantage of a free ball, what they've done so great all night.
What a beautiful setup.
A block from Marquette, and they take set number 3. We're not done yet, folks. Reitzma. Hudson keeps the set alive. Skimmerhorn back to serve. Block for Purdue. They've got match point coming up.
Raven, Colvin, period. Hudson offensively, Colvin comes in defensively, and the Boilermakers are tasting the sugar.
The 8th block for Purdue, 8th team block.
How sweet it is!
And the Boilers have done it! They advance to the Sweet 16 for the 5th time in 6 years. Skimmerhorn finishes with 2 aces. She had 1 in the first set. She closes it for her team. And what a win for this Purdue program.
Back here at Walk-Ons with the Matt Painter Radio Show. Everyone needs a little playing time, so before a Purdue basketball game or any time throughout the week, stop by Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Next up on the Purdue schedule, 1:30 Saturday in Toronto at the Coca-Cola Coliseum. Boilermakers playing the Alabama Crimson Tide. Then Purdue will take a week off for finals. Not a week off from practicing, obviously, but a week away from games. And then next Saturday, the following Saturday, Purdue is in Indianapolis to face the current #1 team in the country, Arizona. Just checking some folks from the Purdue Facebook page where they might be listening or watching in tonight. We say hello to Houston, Texas, in Hillsdale, Michigan, as well as 12 Mile, Indiana. Now, you know what 12 Mile, Indiana is famous for? The lawnmower races.
Really?
Yes, lawn tractor races in 12 Mile. Yeah.
Never been to those, Rob. Have you?
I have not.
No?
I grew up not far from there, but I don't want to lie and say I have. No, I've never been there, but I hear they're pretty cool. And I like riding lawnmowers, so I don't know why I've never been there.
There's a frog jumping contest. Where's that at?
Well,
you ever seen that on?
I don't know where the official one is.
Yeah?
I actually did attend one in Evansville at the Vanderburgh County Fairgrounds in 1994. Wow. But I don't think that's the official one. I think that was just a.
If there's one of those like taverns that have the fried frog legs afterwards, like that wouldn't be good for those.
That would be delicious
for the participants.
Yes.
The participants wouldn't like that.
Yes. They might not.
I don't think they enter themselves into those races, Rob.
I wouldn't know, but I think you're right. We did have one interesting question, I thought, from Facebook. I find it interesting. Maybe you will or won't. Zach Edey, does he have the green light to shoot a three-point shot?
Yeah.
If it's there. Okay.
If he's wide open.
Yeah. Okay. Does it have to be late shot clock?
No, he can make threes. He's all right.
Do we run any set plays?
See, like when people say that, like they act like you're against it. But do you know, like, his per 40 numbers, they're equivalent to David Robinson's and Shaquille O'Neal's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember those guys
digest that
threes.
for a while. Just digest that. Like you got to get him the basketball. You got to get him the basketball. You're just not. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? And if that's what he needs to do as a pro, then we're working on it. We shoot 5-minute threes every day, every single day, and he shoots 5-minute threes. So like every single person on our team does it. So like we work on those type of things, and that's what's going on. But he shoots the most free throws in the country. Like I could keep going on. I mean, we all know his superlatives and everything. So we're gonna keep getting him into his sweet spot,
which probably isn't 20 feet away from the bucket. Yeah. Zach.
But we stole some time here over that question. Like this is the last segment. You really didn't have anything to talk about.
No,
so
I was out of stuff. So that's why
we got frog legs.
I have to go to the listeners.
The lawnmower races.
Well, that's true.
And Zach Edey's threes.
12 Mile, Indiana, every summer hosts the lawnmower races. That's factual.
Also
factual.
Do they bag it, or they
I don't know if they bag it or just.
Oh, they don't make them actually do it on the lawn?
No.
They're not actually mowing?
No, they take the mowing deck off. And then we can go a little faster.
So it's not a real thing.
This thing is spiraling quickly out of control, so let us take a break. One more segment to go on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
That time of year again. That time when it's no longer about what we've done, but what we can do, what we will do. All those bruises and floor burns and pit drills have led to this. Because this is when seasons are defined by survival. When victories are born on the backs of nothing more than desire and the courage to take it. Do you hear me? This next part isn't about any single person. It's about team. It's about grit. It's about being fearless. It's about heart. The concept of underdogs, forget it. Because in this pool, with these teams, it's all metal and talent. Every single one of them. The thing is, playing teams like this is nothing new for us. We've watched empires crumble and dynasties tumble beneath our feet. And when we got knocked down, we got back up and said, let's go again.
Roscoe was able to close this one out.
We've been through the fire and have come out strong.
And then Hudson finishes off.
No giant is bigger than the shadow we will cast. Respect is earned, and that we like. That we thrive on.
Chicoine unleashes. Chloe Chicoine.
Haven't you heard? Age is just a number, and we may be young, but we've seen more battles than most. Make no mistake, we will rise to every challenge.
No surprise, Myers in the play again.
The seasons may be changing, but not us, not our fight, nor our sight of what lies just beyond. Our focus remains the same, because our vision is as clear and steady as it was from day one.
Final segment here of the Matt Painter Radio Show. Someone in the crowd has informed me the lawnmower races in 12 Mile, July 4th weekend. Put it on your calendar. Thank you for the inside info, fans. Final segment of the show always means time for a little nugget, something maybe you would not have known otherwise, unless you're like me and you're a total nerd and you have nothing to do during the day so you can research stuff like this. So let me go here. With Purdue playing Friday night at Welsh Ryan Arena at Northwestern, I got to thinking to myself, you know, the football team, our Boilermakers, we were just up here, 2 weekends ago, before the basketball game, to play Northwestern in football. And I thought it was pretty cool at the time that the Purdue football team was playing at Ryan Field for the final time ever. If you don't know, Northwestern is totally demolishing their football field and building a brand new one on the same footprint. So for the next 2 years, Northwestern won't even have a home football field. So I thought, how cool. If you're a Purdue football player, you can always be able to say, I played in the final game ever at Ryan Field. So then I got to thinking, wait a minute. When we were up here for basketball Friday, didn't our Purdue basketball team play in the final game at Welsh Ryan Arena, the home of Northwestern basketball, before they demolished from the inside and redid their arena? Well, the answer is yes. My memory is not that bad. It actually did happen. March the 5th, 2017 was the last ever home game that Northwestern basketball played in what was their former version of Welsh Ryan Arena. Now, to be fair, I'm fibbing a little bit on the facts here because the outer shell of Welsh Ryan Arena stayed the same, but they completely redid the entire inside. Demolished it, did it all from the inside out, totally brand new. So it doesn't look anything like the old facility used to. So think about this. Purdue basketball, if you're on the team, March 5th, 2017, you played in the final game ever at the old Welsh Ryan Arena at Northwestern. And if you're on the Purdue football team, you played in the final game ever at Ryan Field this past November at Northwestern. So is there some irony to that? Yes, there is. But that is not the nugget. Here, my friends, is the nugget and why I had to skip my nap this afternoon to do this research. Guess who played against our Purdue Boilermakers in the final game ever at Lambert Fieldhouse before Purdue switched over to Mackey Arena? The final game ever at Lambert Fieldhouse was played by the opponent, obviously. We know Purdue played there. Was played by the Northwestern Wildcats. Are you kidding me? The irony. Is there something in our scheduling that says in the contracts that we have to play in the final game for the other school if they're dilapidating or raising a new building? Final game ever at Northwestern, Lambert Fieldhouse in basketball. And for the Boilermakers, we played the final game ever in football at Ryan Field and the final game ever in basketball at the old Welsh Ryan Arena. Has this ever happened before for Purdue and other facilities? Well, I didn't have that much time today. I do know the old Wisconsin Fieldhouse, UW Fieldhouse, we were the third to final game there before they moved to the Kohl Center. But I couldn't get any further into my research than that. But I did find that interesting. Hopefully you did as well. Thanks to Austin Wolken, who was our in-studio engineer today. Thanks to Wes Scott, who engineered on site. Purdue, Saturday in Toronto, playing Alabama. 1:30 for the tip, 12:30 for the broadcast. We will see you then. Have a great night, everyone.